Hi, I'm Simon and welcome to my 24th vlog. It's been about 5 months since my last video and God, going back 7 months since my last vlog. And obviously quite a lot's happened in that time, not just in the world of gaming but also in my life, so I thought it's about time I got back in front of the camera and talked to you guys. Because honestly, I really miss it. I do love putting videos up on YouTube, chatting to the camera, and then getting feedback from you guys, hearing what you have to say, also, obviously watching your videos. So a lot has happened in that time, and of course I'm going to be talking about that, but I'm also going to talk about games that I've been playing recently, some new things that I've picked up, and also games that I'm going to be looking forward to in the near future. And as usual, I've put in the description pane times for all of those segments of the video, because it will be, I can already tell before even recording it, it's going to be a fairly lengthy video. So I'm sure there are bits that you're not interested in, so you can skip past them, or, well, of course, switch the video off altogether if you're not really a fan of these lengthy me sitting here chatting at the video camera. Okay, so I suppose the first thing I should explain to you is, well, we've got a different backdrop and I've moved again. And I'm no longer in China. I have finally returned to the UK and moved back down to England's sunny south coast, although that wasn't my initial plan. You see, I was planning to release a video just before leaving China to say, haha, I'm leaving and I'm going somewhere else next. But that never occurred. It never happened because 2 days before I left China, the job that my wife and I had applied for in Oman, we applied to a university in Muscat, contacted us to explain that the Ministry of Education in Oman had changed some of the rules regarding teachers' backgrounds, like their education background having to match the subject that they're teaching. And as we both teach English and neither of us have English degrees, this caused a bit of a problem, at least in the eyes of the employer, because they'd already had one of their teachers rejected, a teacher who had a better qualification than I have, the same one as my wife, but had a degree in archaeology. And the Ministry of Education said, nope, sorry, you can't hire this person. That doesn't meet our criteria for an English teacher. And so the employer contacted us and explained, there might be a chance that you two will be declined. So, with that in mind, we panicked a bit and thought, oh my god, we've shipped all of our stuff back to the UK. We could have just stayed for another year in China because the school really wanted us to stay. But there was still a hope that we could have got to Oman. And so we went with that, went back to the UK, and we're in a bit of a quandary, thinking about, okay, if we find out about the result of our application soon enough, then we can change our plans accordingly and go somewhere else. But time just ticked on, and it got to, I think it was Ramadan, or is it Eid that comes after Ramadan? At which point, yes, that's the holiday after Ramadan. And at that point, the Ministry of Education was going to shut down for a couple of weeks. And we thought, well, give them to that point. If they haven't come back to us by then, we've got to make other plans. And so they didn't. They didn't come back to us, unfortunately for our employer, because, they need teachers just as much as we need jobs. And so that got knocked on the head. But luckily, my wife's employer from the UK, who'd sent her out to China, offered her a position here. And that's what we decided to, or she decided to take, and we decided to move. And we've moved to a new house, which is really too small for our needs, but it's cheap. And unfortunately, I'm not working at the moment. I've gone back to college. I've just kind of finished an intensive 2-month teaching course, and then I've got an exam on the 3rd of December. And once that's done, I can hopefully start work again after that. There's also a dissertation that I've got to do, but I've got until June to finish that. So what does all this mean for my channel and for gaming? Well, it means that I'm going to have more time to make videos. I'm going to put a lot more effort now I'm back in the UK into making videos and making this channel, I don't know, better, but with more content. And one of the first things I'm going to do is it's not this channel, it's the Gamer's Living Room channel. I'm going to go back to that and bring it back to life. I'm going to, start where I left off more than 2 years ago and make the 7th episode of that, which I had actually filmed a couple of times already, hated both of them, scrapped them, and so going back to the drawing board again. This time, even if it is rubbish, I'm going to stop being such a perfectionist, as if it really matters. It's only a YouTube video, and I'm just going to put up whatever I manage to create. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, before Christmas I've got a video up on that channel, or it'll be 2 videos because I always make them in 2 parts, and then I'll be putting up other videos onto this channel as well. And I want to get into the habit of putting up regular content. I do like the sorts of channels that have something maybe once a week or every 2 weeks. You know it's coming, and then you can watch it and you kind of become part of the audience. And I think that's what I want to do. I want to get onto a regular schedule and start making videos for you guys, because I love watching your videos, so hopefully I can make some stuff regularly that you guys will enjoy. So that's it as far as my life, the changes. I've moved, as I say, into a new house. I suppose I should mention, right next to me here you can see I've got, I think, nearly all of my gaming stuff that I've got out of my parents' loft and spare room there, and I've still got some boxes which are full of some games, mostly DVDs, and some consoles which still need to be unpacked, but I need to get some shelving units for those, get some of the games out of the plastic drawers and actually get those onto shelves, and then I can shift other things into those drawers that would make more sense to have in there. So it's, it's okay in the sense that, I do have a bit of space in here. My wife has kindly allowed me, although it's only a 2-bedroom place, this is the master bedroom, but she's allowed me to put all of my stuff in here. And we've also got, although I'm not going to show them to you, we've got wardrobes over there, because we've moved into the back bedroom, which is tiny, just enough room for our king-size bed and a chest of drawers, but it's actually a bit quieter in that back room. So anyway, not that you need to know that, but yeah. So I've got a bit of a different setup as well. You might have noticed behind me, no longer do I have the iMac, and there's a somewhat interesting story connected to that. You might be able to see there I've got a Mac Pro now. Well, as I said, I was moving to Oman, and I thought to myself, okay, well, I will need a faster, newer computer at some point in the near future, and I had a couple of months' pay from my job in China kind of sitting there in cash that either needed to be exchanged or needed to be spent on something. And actually we had a little bit more than a couple of months. We had about £2,500 to spend, and so I thought to myself, right, if I'm going to pay about £180 to ship the iMac back to the UK and then spend another, I don't know, maybe £200-300 to ship it to Oman, because a lot of the airlines flying out that way tend to be expensive, the Middle Eastern airlines, for excess baggage. And at that point, this was about 6 or 7 days before we were leaving China. At that time, of course, we thought we were going to Oman, and we didn't know which airline we would be flying out to Oman with because the university was going to provide that. And so I thought to myself, okay, I can save, by not having the iMac, I can save, maybe £400, maybe more, from not having to ship the iMac. I can sell the iMac for about £600, and then I can use some of this money and I can buy a new computer. And I thought to myself, well, I don't really play games on the Mac. I'll just get a laptop. But then I got the laptop. I got the highest spec MacBook Pro. And I thought to myself, that will be enough for me. For the few games that I do play on it, things like Civilization and XCOM, it'll be good enough to play that. It's a beautiful laptop, and I'll just use it as my main computer. I'll plug it into a screen, and then I can have, obviously the 15-inch screen and a monitor as my setup. Got it back, set the machine up, seemed really nice until I started to play games on it. The thing, within the space of 5 minutes, got ridiculously hot, and the fans started speeding up to kind of churn all the heat out of the machine, and it was so noisy that playing a couple of hours of Civilization 5 on it, and by the end of that it annoyed the hell out of me. Just the heat coming off of it, the noise coming out of it. And I took it back to the Apple store and said to them, is this normal? And they said, well, yeah, these things do get hot. I mean, it's got for the size of the machine, it had a high-powered graphics card in there, which obviously I chose. I thought, well, I might as well get the top spec one because then I will be able to play games on it. If I really want to, because I've obviously over the years I've built up quite a Steam account with quite a few games on it that I do like to play from time to time. And so I took it back and changed it for a Mac Pro, which seemed like a much more sensible option. It's a desktop machine. It's in many respects far more powerful than I need it to be. But it was a similar price to the MacBook Pro. Obviously it doesn't come with a screen, but it suited the needs of being portable. It's small enough that I can just stick it in my hand luggage and take it on the plane. Although it does have the unfortunate downside of looking a bit like a bomb or something. I mean, when I did bring it home and I had to open up my hand luggage case at the Chinese immigration when I was leaving, they didn't know what it was. They had to go and check that it was a computer. They were like, what the hell is this cylindrical shiny object in your bag? They didn't say that to me, but I could see they were quite puzzled by it when I told them it was a computer. But anyway, aside from that, it's a great machine. And, well, I say it's a great machine. It's underutilized, because whenever you use it for anything other than video editing, so obviously this is edited on Final Cut Pro, which I've had for quite a long time, it whizzes through there. It's great, much better than the iMac was, and it's actually a better games machine. A lot of people have said, oh yeah, it's not really a gaming machine, but compared to my iMac, which was sort of 3 years old, it's better than that, and it's only running one of the graphics cards in it. If I booted it into Windows, unfortunately you can only use Windows 8 with it, and I don't have that, but if I booted it into that, I'd be able to run the two graphics cards in Crossfire, because they're ATI graphics cards. And it's a reasonable gaming machine, not compared to something else that you'd pay £2,000 for, but now I say that £2,000 is a hell of a lot of money to spend on a computer, isn't it? But I don't know, It seemed like a very sensible... At the time when I bought it, when I knew I was going to Oman, where I was going to be earning quite a lot of money, it didn't seem like such an outlay. Because when you think about it, a couple of grand, if I'd have taken that back to the UK and changed it up, there are not that many places that give you a favourable exchange rate with, or in fact there aren't any places that give you a favourable exchange rate with Chinese money, so I would have lost at least 10% on that, plus taking the iMac back and then taking that over to Oman. It seemed like a pretty sensible option to purchase this machine. And I was glad that I had, until Apple released their 5K iMac, which has an amazing screen on it. I saw one in an Apple store a week or so ago, and it's a similar sort of price to this, and apparently fairly good at gaming. Obviously not gaming at 5K, you game at what would it be called, 2.5K is what you'd be gaming at, the 1440p. And the previous iMac ran games fairly well at that resolution, and so the new iMac obviously much better. And so I would have liked that. I do miss the iMac screen. This Dell, well, I can't remember what the name of the monitor is, but it's one of their sort of professional grade monitors. And it's really nice, but it's not a patch on... Oh. It's not it's not a patch on the iMac screen, even on the old iMac screen. Compared to the new one, this is rubbish. But there we go, that's the setup. But there's also something else you can probably see down here in the bottom corner, because I finally got my hands on the Oculus DK2. I ordered this, I think, the day after it was announced. Pre-ordered it from Oculus, and it was due to be released, was it the end of July, and I think I got mine sometime in August. And it actually, waiting that much longer didn't make a jot of difference, because they hadn't got the drivers ready for the Mac until about a week after I received mine. So I could have waited another week happily. It just sort of sat in the box for a week being unused. And stay there, don't fall off and break. It's not what I was expecting in some respects. It's a tough one, because I've talked about VR many times and said how I really want the Oculus, how it's the product that feels like I've been waiting for years. And using it, the first time I put it on the Mac, it doesn't. On the PC, apparently it works a lot better in that it's a separate monitor connected to your system, and on the iMac, on the Mac, it just extends the desktop over, and it just doesn't work in this, I don't know, integrated way I would expect it to. So it's a bit of a pain getting the games to open up on the Oculus and then have them fully expanded. There are often issues with it. But once I had got the thing set up and put it on, just the experience of having it on my head, I was thinking, oh, this is... I mean, I remember Shem Muso talking about this, saying how the field of view is quite cropped, and I wasn't expecting it to be as cropped as it is. To give you any kind of idea, if you've never used one of them, to me it felt like either I was wearing a motorcycle helmet or I felt like Kenny from South Park, because your field of view is very narrowed. Because you think about it, when the DK1 was first touted by Oculus and they were showing how, wow, the big wide field of vision, I was expecting it, you know, just little kind of maybe a sliver of black around the outline, and it'd be kind of just in my peripheral vision. Not at all. It's kind of like here. But once the initial shock of that had worn off, and I started to, in fact, even from the demo, where, well, not even the proper demo, where you set the machine up and you put the headset on and it shows you a desk with a lamp and a Coke can and a stack of cards on it. And immediately there was a sense of presence in that space, because as I moved my head, it tracked perfectly with what I was looking at. And it's very difficult to describe, because you know you're not there, you are disembodied, you don't look down, you can't see your own body, but at the same time it feels a little bit like you're there. And I was really impressed by that sense of presence that it created. Then I went into the Tuscany demo, which again, you kind of feel like you're there, but there was something, I don't like that demo, there's something awkward and oppressive about it that that actually made me feel quite sick. And I noticed after wearing it for the first 15 minutes, the Oculus DK2, I started to get like motion sickness, travel sickness, and I couldn't really work out why, because it tracked so beautifully with all my movements. But I think there's something about the demo in the way that the way the movement works on your controller or on your mouse and keyboard. When you walk forwards and turn your head, the character, your avatar, turns with where you're turning your head. So you can look this way and push forward, or whatever, W key or forward on your joypad, and you walk in that direction. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. You know, if I turn my head, I want to still be walking in that direction, looking over here. Yeah, it didn't really feel that good. And there's not that much in the way of demos and software for the Mac. But after a few weeks, I got to try out the beta version of Half-Life 2. And that's where I think it works beautifully. Playing that scene where Gordon is reintroduced to the scientist, whatever his name is, and Barney, and I can't even remember the name of the girl in it, whatever, doesn't matter. But you're in that scene and you're meeting those people, and you feel, or at least I did, I kind of felt like I was there in that scene. It gave the game a completely different sense to it. Instead of there being this distance between me and the screen, I was in that space. And if this is just kind of the beginnings of virtual reality, in the sense of having a usable home system, a proper one that works, I can see this going a long way and it being very impressive. But as it is with the current tech that we've got, I can now see why people were saying that the DK2, it's not really a consumer product, even though people can buy it. You know, obviously I'm not a developer. I would like to be. You know, I like the idea of creating my own, well, not a video game, but creating a level or something within a video game and then experiencing it through VR. I'd like to try that at some point in the future. But, you know, I've been able to purchase this, anyone technically can, but I'd have to say, yeah, it's not a consumer product. It's annoying to set up. Being tethered to the machine ruins the experience. The resolution, even though it's much higher than the original version of the Oculus DK1, it's still not good. It's still, the resolution is still too low and somewhat detracts from the experience. I can imagine if it were sort of 4K or 5K and it filled more of your field of view, then it would be a lot more immersive. But it's going to be a while until there's hardware that can comfortably shift around that number of pixels at the sort of frame rates they're looking at. I mean, I think this is 75 frames per second or 75 hertz. The new one, they've got a new prototype model called, it's not Crystal Cove, that was the old one, something Bay. I'll put the name of it up here and obviously show some pictures, but that is a higher resolution still. I imagine it's probably 1440p, because that's what Samsung's entry into the virtual reality arena, where you can connect your Note 4 to a visor and have a system. And to me, that I think is the future, having a standalone system that's not tethered to anything. That's an experience I would really, really enjoy. And it's going to be a while until we've got smartphone sized units that can shift 4K resolutions around at 90 frames a second. I mean, it's going to be quite a few years down the line until that's a feasible piece of kit, just purely from the grunt that's needed from the video hardware. But it's going to come. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And when it does, I think it's going to be pretty impressive. But I have to say that I'm tempted to shove this thing on eBay, because I'm just not using it. I'm just not excited about playing games on it at all, which shocked me, I have to admit, and may surprise some of you, the amount I've been going on about can't wait to get an Oculus. But as it stands in its current form, apart from the novelty of playing, so my favourite thing that I've played on it so far is a demo of a game called Awesome. It's a free fall game. You start at the top of a tower and you have to free fall down the tower with all these spinning blocks and platforms getting in your way. And although I don't really understand the game, because as soon as you get to the bottom you just splat and die, but maybe that's the demo, I don't know. But that works beautifully. It is a good experience to play, and I think maybe I should get the full version of that game and give this another go. I don't know, or maybe get Windows 8 and use the Mac Pro as a PC and like dual install the two operating systems. But unfortunately, the only downside to the Mac Pro is I had to buy the cheapest version of it, and it only comes with 256 gig of hard drive space, of flash storage. It's incredibly fast flash storage on there. The system loads like that. It's crazy how quickly it loads up and shuts down compared to my old iMac. But with that limited amount of space, dual installing two systems on it is quite annoying, and I don't know. But I do want to try it out in the PC environment, and I don't have another PC to try it on, so that I might have to shell out £100 and get a copy of Windows 8. I don't really like, in fact, I begrudge doing that. It's like when I bought Vista. It was an awful operating system, and I've used Windows 8 quite a few times. At work, we had it when I was in China. Place I'm at college here, they've got Windows 8, and I do not like it. Can't wait for Windows 10 to come out. I think going back to the Windows 7 kind of interface, I think is going to make me a lot happier. So I don't know, disappointed, but can see a lot of potential. But I'm not going to waffle on about that anymore, because I still have a couple of other things to talk about. And in the first of those really is two games that I've been playing a lot over these last few months, because although 5 months, I haven't done a great deal of gaming, or at least not very varied gaming, because I'm still playing FTL. Now, I talked about this, saying how much I love the game, and I play it on the Mac, but I've now got it on the iPad, and it's even better. My wife and I got this computer, we also picked up an iPad Air, and playing FTL on that is just amazing. Because it's the same game, but you're touching it. You're sending your little guys around the ship to go and do whatever they need to do, and you're adjusting the shields and the lasers and all that sort of stuff. And it takes an already great game and makes it even better. And normally I find games that are on other systems and then converted to the iPad or other tablet devices or phones, I don't really like them. But this, I have to say, I think it makes the game even better. And with all of the free updated enhanced edition, when they released the iPad, they enhanced the PC and Mac versions as well. It's taken an already great game and made it better. And I just play that game far too much. And I've talked about FTL quite a lot in the past, and I'm not going to bother mentioning what the game's about. It's quite easy for you to, if you've never seen it, to Google it and find out for yourself. But £6.99 well spent on the iPad there. Love that game. But the other thing I've been playing, it's been consuming quite a bit of my time recently, is Battlefield 4. And I picked up the premium... Well, actually, no, I didn't. I was waiting for this premium edition version to come out. I'd heard it mentioned on the internet in a few different places that they couldn't really call it a Game of the Year edition because there have been so many problems with Battlefield 4 since its launch. But they're releasing a premium edition, so it's basically the game plus the premium pass all in one. But I popped into my local game because I knew it was coming out, I think around the end of October, to ask them, when is the physical copy coming out? Because I don't really like spending a lot of money on digital versions of games. And they were clueless as to this premium edition. They hadn't heard anything about it. And it just so happened that the PlayStation Store that week was running an offer where you could get the Battlefield Vanilla for about £22, and then I think it was maybe £13 or £14 for the premium pass, and so altogether £36. But having said that, I mean, that's a lot of money to spend on a digital only purchase. But I've already got my £36 worth out of that game. My God, I've played that. I mean, my fingers hurt from playing so much Battlefield 4, and I'm rubbish at it compared to a lot of the people out there. But I love it. I really do. I really enjoyed Battlefield 3 when I had it on my Xbox 360. But then I got rid of my live account and, of course, couldn't play the multiplayer anymore. And about 2 weeks before getting BF4, I picked up BF3 on the PlayStation 3 and played some of that and really enjoyed it. I like a lot of the maps on Battlefield 3, but on the PlayStation 4, having more players on the larger maps makes them better. I mean, graphically, I couldn't really care. It doesn't, to me, the difference between Battlefield 3's graphics on the PlayStation 3 and Battlefield 4's on the PS4, yeah, alright, there's a few shimmery effects and light flares and stuff, but nothing that really makes a lot of difference. It's having those extra players on the map, having 32 people on each side. And some of the maps on Battlefield 4 are just amazing, the scope of them. There's this one I really like that's a downed or half sunken carrier, and then you have to go and fight across onto islands and then destroy the I think we'd call them domination points or whatever down the map. If you're playing Rush, where you have to destroy 2 stations and then you move along the map, that's really cool. Works really well for Conquest. And even actually saying that now, there's another mode that's introduced in one of the DLC packs called Naval Strike or some rubbish. I don't even know what the name is. But there's a type of carrier battle, which is one of the best things. I've played something similar to it before, and I can't remember which game it was in, where you had 2 bases and then you had to battle over the center ground, and then that opened up the bases, and then you could get into the enemy base and destroy it. Am I thinking PlanetSide? But then again, that wasn't 2 bases, you're fighting over the 1 base. But I'm sure you guys will be able to tell me. There's maybe it was even an old Battlefield 2142. Now, anyway, these carrier missions are awesome. So you have your carrier, which needs defending. The central ground, the island between the 2 carriers, has rocket launcher stations, which you need to have control of, because when your team controls that station, the missiles fire at the enemy carrier and not at yours. Tactically, it's a great game because you're obviously fighting over the central ground and the different stations that needs to be captured, but then as soon as your carrier is vulnerable and their carrier is vulnerable to invasion, then your forces are split. Are you going to be defending your carrier? Are you going to be attacking their carrier? Or are you going to be trying to control the middle ground as well? Because there are 2 ways to win the game. You can get on board their carrier and take out 2 stations, or you can actually, their carrier can be destroyed from missile fire. If you've got complete domination of the central ground, you can just hold it, and their carrier will be taken out that way eventually. I think the quickest way to do it is to take down the carrier's defences, send teams in there to take out these stations, and then it's destroyed. It really is a lot of fun, and it's not just the carrier strike mode or the conflict mode, the rush mode, but all of it together. You've got the choice of large-scale battles with lots of people, with lots of vehicles. You've then at the other end of the scale got small maps with only infantry fighting each other, sort of close quarters battles. There's a lot of variety for this type of game. There's a lot of variety there, a lot more so than I find with Call of Duty, although I do play a bit of that from time to time. But Battlefield is by far my favourite of the FPS genre. Although, well, I'm going to talk about something else in a minute that I also really like. But I'm having so much fun with Battlefield that I'm not feeling the need to go out and purchase another game. I was, at the time of purchase, thinking, yeah, I'll play this for a bit and I'll enjoy it, but there's Far Cry 4 coming out, and I want to play through GTA 5 again on the PS... well, now it's out on the PS4, but I haven't felt the urge to rush out and buy either of those games. They both look interesting. I do really like the idea of playing through Grand Theft Auto 5 again, and now I've realised they've got the first person mode. That's made me want it even more, but I'll probably wait a few months and then pick it up. Same with Far Cry 4. I was really looking forward to playing that because I love Far Cry 3. But a lot of people have said it's just more or less the same game. There's not really much else to it. And so I do want to play it, but again, I'll probably put that on the back burner because I'm having so much fun playing Battlefield 4 and still FTL. I don't see the point in spending money when I'm still enjoying those games. Having said that though, I am looking forward to getting... Well, there's a couple of things coming out soon that I'm looking forward to, and they're both coming out at the beginning of next year. First of those is something that I've already played before, but on the PC, and it's PlanetSide 2. And I'm very excited to get this on the PlayStation 4. The last time I played it, it was in beta. It was on my iMac just before leaving the UK, before going to Chengdu. And I was kind of gutted when I got there that the internet connection was utter rubbish and there was no way for me to continue playing PlanetSide 2, and I had to just leave the beta and not continue with it. Now, since being back, as I said, I haven't got a PC because I haven't got Windows 8 for the Mac Pro, so I can't pick up PlanetSide 2 again. But it's coming out on PlayStation 4 January, maybe February sort of time. So, and it's going to be free to play. With, you know, it does have microtransactions for certain equipment and, you know, sort of, I don't know, visual things that you might want to customize your character with, but you don't need to pay anything. You can just play through the game and unlock all of the equipment if you want to. I'll probably spend a little bit of money modifying the character when I start playing it, but very excited to play that. And from all accounts, from what I've heard of it so far, of course this is only coming from Sony Online Entertainment, of course they're going to say it's good, but it seems to be comparable to a fairly decent PC version of it, a little bit scaled back because of the sheer number of people playing it, but still going to be a massive online experience, and that is something I'm very excited to play. But maybe even more so than that, it's going to be Elite Dangerous. So excited to play that. Finally, an Elite game that I really want to play. After loving Elite, as I'm sure many of you have over the years, played it on many different systems, being sort of, in fact, in some cases, very disappointed with Frontier and God, whatever that third Elite game was that came out. I bought both of them on the Amiga and didn't really enjoy either of them. I still play Elite, which is a free version of Elite that's out there, a sort of fan-made version of it on the Mac. But yeah, to be able to play Elite Dangerous, and that's not coming out on the Mac until it's early next year, early December or mid-December on the PC, and then it's going to be sort of January, February sort of time for the Mac, and that's when I'm going to purchase it and get lost in the universe of Elite. But something I saw recently that you may care to look at, a video I saw on YouTube and an interesting article on Eurogamer about it. A German Elite Dangerous fan decided to create a rig just for playing Elite Dangerous, and he's got 3 projector screens powered by projectors above his head, or interestingly beamers as they call them in German, and so he's got the 3 screens in front of him, so his entire field of view is Elite Dangerous. And then he's got a customized panel that he's created with sort of touch screens, and so he can see lots of the things that are going on in the game on his console in front of him. Plus he's already got, you know, the sort of traditional joystick and throttle control, but he's implemented a couple of other systems into it as well. I think he's got leap motion in there, so he can do hand gestures to activate things. He's got some software running that does voice detection, so he can give commands to the system. And I even believe he's got another system set up that has head tracking, so it can adjust the kind of the parallax or depth of view of the star field and whatever is being rendered in front of him, so it moves with his head. Sounds great. Really, really awesome system. Eurogamer reckoned it's about £3,000 for that setup, and that's without the PC running it. So God knows, you know, £4,000 worth of kit there, or maybe £5,000 worth. But it's going to be quite an awesome experience, and I would love to have the room and also the money to create something like that to play Elite Dangerous. Mine's going to be a much more humble setup. I might get another monitor. I might get rid of this NEC one, which I've had for donkey's years, from the days when LCD screens were in their infancy. And so I'll yeah, maybe get 3 screens for playing Elite Dangerous. I don't know, but that's a question for the future to address, and in January or February when that's out, and I'll have to consult the budget, possibly consult the wife, and see about getting another couple of screens to play that game. And I've already got a joystick and throttle that I picked up from a car boot sale for a couple of quid, and they still work pretty well, so I will be using those, and they're in the boxes over there. So that's it really. That's what I'm excited about in the near future. That's what I've been playing recently, what I've been doing in my life recently. And one last thing, I think the last vlog, I went back and looked at that video, and as comical as it was with my nice beard that I'd grown, I was talking about staying healthy. And as far as the intake of food is concerned, I've continued using the NutriBullet, so thanks again to TG Apuleius for recommending that. I use it every day. I have at least one smoothie type drink of vegetables and fruits mixed up, and yeah, love it. Really do enjoy using that machine. That's £100 very well spent. As far as the other side of fitness, actually keeping my body strong and healthy, I've joined a gym, but I haven't been that many times. I'm very lucky that where we're living now there is a gym about a minute's walk from here, so I've got no excuse not to go to the gym. And it's a nice modern gym. But video gaming, man, I mean, I'm going to the gym, I'm staying healthy to kind of combat the negative effects of my gaming lifestyle, but still I'm not going enough. That's something, once I've got this exam out of the way on the 3rd of December, then I'm going to focus on improving the channel, making more videos, looking for a job, and I'm going to go to the gym and get in shape, start feeling kind of fit and healthy. But anyway, thank you very much for watching and continuing to watch for this incredibly lengthy video. And I'd just like to say, my wife has got a good message here on the t-shirt that she bought for me. Don't grow up, it's a trap. See you next time. Bye bye.